Sometimes you can't make it up even if you tried. Netflix, before they get the rights to WWE Raw, will be putting on a massive fight June 20th down in Texas, live on Netflix. A WWE Hall of Famer at the age of 57 will be taking on the brother of a current WWE champion who's at the age of 27. We'll talk all about it, a massive fight that has the world talking. We're also going to talk John Cena confirming his WrestleMania status, and I have the ratings for both AEW Dynamite and NXT for this week. Both brands hoping to pop a big number. Of course, for AEW, it is their big post-Revolution show. Simultaneously, it was their season premiere and the debut of Okada with a pre-announced big announcement from the Young Bucks. So if there was ever a time to pop a big number, this would be it. Were they able to inch ever so closer to what seems like an impossible 1 million? We'll talk about it. What I will tell you in this teaser is Tony Khan is most likely none too happy right now. And over on the WWE side of things for NXT, this was a big week for them. A mini pay-per-view themed show titled Roadblock. And the only thing that was blocked was a decent rating. We'll talk all about it. It's coming up in this upload. But there's only one way to start this upload, and that's with the big, and I mean massive fight, June 20th, live on Netflix. When BC first heard about this a couple 2-3 hours ago, I had to do a double and even a triple take to make sure that I was hearing this correctly, A, and B, that it was factual information. And when I found out that it was, that's when it took on a life of its own. The amount of people talking about this fight, from people you know have never witnessed a fight in their existence, never followed a boxing matchup or a bout or a combat exhibition. But this, they know how big this is. Mike Tyson, WWE Hall of Famer at the age of 57, taking on Jake Paul, the brother of current United States champion Logan Paul. Jake Paul at the age of 27, taking on Tyson at 57. And by the time of the fight, Tyson will be 58 years old. If you do your Steiner math, that is a 30-year difference. We're going to find out if age matters, or does Tyson still pack that punch? Will he drop Jake Paul where he stands like a stack of bricks? Or is Jake Paul going to shock the world? Is it shocking the world? BC, Mike Tyson is a shell of what he once was at 57 years old. Paul's got this easily. I don't know, growing up as Mike Tyson as king, I still can't see Mike Tyson just getting handled. I don't know how you guys see it, but this is huge. There's a part of me that is thinking, if this isn't rigged, this could be some of the most fun we've seen in an exhibition bout in the longest of times. But that's the key. As long as it's not rigged, sometimes these exhibition fights, they are absolutely rigged. It is a massive payday. You're going to go and make it seem like you're giving it your all. You're going to take some stiff shots. Maybe you're even going to get busted up a little bit. But you know when to plan out that finish, right? Go home is what they call it in pro wrestling, and that's when you wrap up the finish. You deliver that final blow. Man, I hope this is not rigged. I hope this is straight up. Tyson with something to prove, Jake Paul with something to prove. Jake Paul has said in his latest statement about this fight, he says, I want to be champion one day. I want to be taken more than seriously. And this is a very serious fight for me, my biggest of my career. And Mike Tyson, this is about Mike Tyson showing the world that he's the baddest man at 27, 57, or 137. As long as it's not rigged, this is going to be so much fun. The intrigue. I mean, it's WrestleMania season, guys, and it's 30 days away. It's 4 weeks away, and it still doesn't really feel like Mania season. There's nothing on that card that's advertised or that's going to be advertised that is going to be as big as Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, sadly. Netflix, before they even get Monday Night Raw, Netflix is starting off with a grand slam. This will be live for any Netflix subscriber. So if you have Netflix, you got the fight. Netflix is going big. You know WWE is going to have a massive presence there. Not just the brother of Jake, Logan Paul, current U.S. champion, but WWE is going to be massively present. They're really going to probably promote WWE Raw heavily starting on that date. Again, Tyson will be 58 at the time of the fight, guys. 57 now, and by the time the bell rings, 58. To Jake Paul's 27. I know you want to say age doesn't matter, especially in a fight, but whoa, Jake Paul is in the prime of his young career and conditioning, all of that. Jake Paul is on his A game. Now, I haven't seen Tyson in a while, but he's going to have to show up in his A game. With his A game to take out Jake Paul, that much I know. 58 years old at the time of the fight. Mike Tyson's last official fight was back in June of 2005, 19 years ago, where he lost to Kevin McBride. He had an exhibition bout November of 2020, just 4 years ago. But again, that was more on the exhibition side of things. On that same card, ironically, guys, the same card that Mike Tyson had that exhibition matchup. Jake Paul had a wild knockout victory over former New York Knick Nate Robinson in the second round, and it was a gnarly knockout. But the irony, again, is that was the same card that Tyson had his exhibition. Jake Paul was having his exhibition. So, interesting, right? How it kind of came full circle 4 years later. But guys, this is massive. Netflix announced this hours ago, and it has taken on a life of its own. People I never knew cared about any fight, especially Mike Tyson at this stage in his life, and Jake Paul. I didn't even know some of these individuals knew who Jake Paul was, and I'm getting texts and I'm getting blown up about this fight. Did you hear about this fight? This is going to be sick. This is going to be wild. And I'm like, dude, they're streaming this live on net. They ain't even going to charge you $60, $70 for this thing. Again, I hope it's not rigged. If it's not rigged, this is going to be hella fun. I don't care if one of them gets knocked out in the first round. Could you imagine if Mike Tyson shows up at 58 and knocks Jake Paul flat on his ass? A wake-up call to the world. It don't matter the age. Once a badass, always a badass. Damn, that's big, man. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be June 20th. It's going to be from the AT&T Stadium down in Texas. It's going to be live on Netflix, man. Mike Tyson, WWE Hall of Famer Mike Tyson versus brother of current WWE US champion Logan Paul, Jake Paul. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Damn, that just sold WrestleMania. It's just not on WrestleMania. Paul Levesque McMahon could only dream to have that on WrestleMania. Moving on. Let's go over to John Cena. Jonathan Cena has confirmed his WrestleMania status. John Cena says this, and I quote, "It's April 6th. I know exactly where it is. I'm free that day. I'm just telling you guys that." Did you need any more confirmation? Of course, unless you've been living underneath a rock the last 7 days, and I don't mean a Dwayne Johnson, an actual rock, and you haven't heard. The rumblings is that John Cena is absolutely showing up to WrestleMania, whether a match, whether to take somebody out, but he is going to make a massive appearance. It was just about day one or day two, night one, night two. That was the only thing we were kind of trying to decipher. But John Cena just came out and pretty much confirmed it right there. So it's, I guess, unless they pre-announce, they still have 4 weeks to pre-announce it. But if they were keeping it a surprise, it's kind of spoiled now for sure. John Cena telling you he made sure he's free that day. He knows where it is. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm telling you guys that, he says. So, but he gave the April 6th date. So that is indeed night one. So I think that was definitely on purpose. I think for him to even say that, he just has that date on his dome piece. Him and his people, his handlers, his Hollywood handlers, if you will, they probably have that date kind of circled. April 6th is most likely when John Cena is going to make his WrestleMania appearance. I doubt very much it would be night 2, but knowing John Cena, he probably took both days/nights off. So, I mean, nobody knows. You could see the dude both nights. But April 6th, he just laid down the biggest hint, the biggest spoiler. More than any dirt sheet could have done, John Cena did it himself. April 6th, he's free that day. He knows where it is. I'll leave it at that, he says. John Cena, if you needed confirmation over the reports we were hearing, well, there it is. He will be at WrestleMania. That'll be cool, man. Hopefully, maybe it'll set something. He's been teasing again, man. He's been asked a couple of times recently about that 17th World Championship, just recently with Chris Van Vliet in his podcast. And he once again, he just gave that little wink, like, yeah, I'm not done yet, don't forget. Who says I'm hanging it up at 16? You know, so will he? Right now it's a race. Who's going to beat Ric Flair's record if it is broken, right? Right now he's tied with Cena. Is Cena going to take it, or is Ric Flair's daughter, Charlie Flair, going to take the record? She's already at like 14. You know she's going to get probably 5 more within the next 2 years. So is it going to be Jonathan Cena or Charlie Flair? Wouldn't it be something if the third place horse comes out of nowhere? Randy Orton all of a sudden. Doesn't Orton have like 14 too? Something like that, 14 or 15? Wouldn't it be something if Orton collects a quick couple? Man, and then Orton, man, if he got 60, then you would have a 3-man race. Ric Flair, Orton, and John Cena. That's all we need. Then you're going to hear word that Ric Flair is coming out of retirement to collect his 17th. That's all we need. All right, guys, let's wrap it up with some ratings, man, some numbers. I know sometimes this makes you guys cringe because we have to talk numbers. But easily, can't we just enjoy wrestling? You can do whatever you want. If you want to enjoy wrestling, enjoy it, man. If you don't want to talk numbers, nobody's forcing you to talk numbers. This is a podcast where we jump into all things pro wrestling, the business side, the industry side, the character side, the performance side, every single side you can think of. We dissect mannerisms, expressions, movesets, skill set, presentation. Everything is deciphered and dissected on this channel. So you don't have to do anything. You can enjoy wrestling and have the time of your life. BC and a lot of my subscribers, you're going to find we don't want to just enjoy wrestling. We want to be captivated by pro wrestling, like what drew us to wrestling as kids, right? And how we looked at the adults when we were kids with their jaws dropped. They were captivated as adults, you know? And that's what we're trying to accomplish on this channel. We don't want to just enjoy wrestling. We want to be captivated by it. And when we hear phony things like the wrestling business is booming, yet every metric is going backwards, right? Just because WWE is making record revenue doesn't mean the wrestling business is booming, right? You show up to AEW, even television for Dynamite and Collision, right? You're going to see bare minimum 30 to 40% of the arenas are empty. So don't tell me the wrestling business is booming because one wrestling company, WWE in this example, is making record revenue. That's BS, and it won't be accepted on the channel. So what we like to do is we like to look at the metrics. We like to break down the substance in the numbers, and that'll tell us if the wrestling business is booming. So let's find out if the wrestling business is booming. What do you say? Let's start with AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They're coming off of their Revolution pay-per-view. So right there, you're probably going to pop a big number, you're thinking, right? And they heavily promoted this as the season premiere. So we'll add on a little bit more. Maybe that'll bring another 20, 30,000 viewers. Pretty cool. Add that to the 30 to 40 that are tuning in from the post-pay-per-view that maybe weren't there the week before. And Okada's debuting. Now, if they didn't know exactly it would be Okada, at least you knew that the Young Bucks had a big announcement, a big surprise, right? Something that the Young Bucks were announcing that was pre-announced. So you have all these things working for AEW. And unfortunately, for Tony Khan and his promotion, they hit their lowest rating since October of last year, 779,000 viewers. 43,000 viewers down from last week's 822. With all of that, post-Revolution, season premiere, Okada's debut, Young Bucks' big announcement, all of it, they somehow lost over 40,000 viewers to a 779. They have not hit 900,000 at all this year, and they only hit 850 once in this entire year. Their new normal for the last 10-week average is 825. There was a time not long ago where their average was 950. That has dropped 125,000 viewers, which means by this time in 6 months, their new average is projected to be, this is not just BC make, this is the projection. Their new average in 6 months is projected to be 750,000. Sadly. This, of course, again, was the post-Revolution season premiere and Okada debut. 779. Now over with NXT, as they said in Home Alone when Kevin McAllister jumps in, it was Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Kevin McAllister jumps in the cab and he says, "It's crazy out there." And the cab driver turns around looking all bummish and he's like, "It ain't much better in here, kid." Well, over with WWE's NXT brand, it ain't much better over here, kid. NXT pulls 654K. This is up only 38,000 from last week's 616,000. Now, normally I say up is up. Whether it's 1,000 viewers, at least you're going in the right direction, right? The right trajectory. But in this case, this was a mini pay-per-view show themed, titled Roadblock, where they really put their best foot forward, or at least tried to see if that would generate any interest from their audience, bring back some casuals, get people who are flicking through to stop on that channel. And they were only able to garner 38,000 viewers, 650 some odd thousand viewers. Now, obviously the hope was to try to get back to that 750 that WWE was playing with at their low end when they were bringing all of the main roster talent over. You at least want to try to do that on your own accord with your own developmental, I use that in quotes, but you want to do that with your own talent. Now, trying to go from 600 to 750,000 for an NXT brand especially, that's nearly impossible. I would have been shocked if that happened. But to only go up 38 with a mini-themed pay-per-view style event, man, that is rough. Very rough. So for NXT and AEW, the interest remains not there with the majority of the audience. In fact, this tells us that a lot of the audience can just not watch, especially not consistently. They can watch whenever they have free time or whenever they just want to. So they don't need to watch. They'll watch if they want to. So when you hear that the wrestling business is booming, show up to some of these shows that are not titled WWE, guys. Go to an AEW show. Go to NXT when they're not in that little sweatbox down in Orlando. Go to an NXT show when they're outside of that venue. Tell me the wrestling business is booming when you go to a local bingo hall where they only need to fill 40 seats and they can barely fill 12. Tell me the wrestling business is booming! Because it's just not. Sadly. There's more people like BC Amplify just trying to drop this knowledge so that we can get it to where it needs to be. So instead of getting offended when we talk this type of truth, knowing that we're trying to make it better, let's all join the cause to help make it better. If you enjoy watching wrestling, what would you do if I told you it can be 8 billion times better? Wouldn't you want that? Exactly. Listen more. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen more. And we could get pro wrestling actually booming again. It's sad to see these type of numbers when these promotions put out these supposed big shows. And I'm not talking about Paul White. But in the end, the audience decided they're not big enough shows. Until next time, and there will be that next time, BC and his amplified unit saying check you.